we've got the Neighborhood Show on the road today, and we've ended up in Worthington, Minnesota, and I'm here with Marv Spomer from Spomer Classics. Hello,
Yes.
Marv.
How you doing, Shannon?
I think we need to do something else that's going to be important to really enhance this story, don't you, Marv?
I think that'd be a good idea. It's a
All
little
right.
dark in here.
Yeah, and your wife's hiding in here somewhere. Janine's
Yeah.
hiding in here somewhere. You guys go play hide and seek, and we'll wait just a little bit and see
Okay,
what happens.
we'll see if we can find her.
All right.
Okay.
You pick up all that beautiful light. All right, well, now that we've got this place all lit up, and we're excited to be able to see what's going on here, we want to be able to let them tell their story today. Because at some point, everything has a season, and these signs will go to other museums, other homes, other man caves, hopefully some other people that will appreciate them as much as you, but we don't need to do that in a hurry. Let's let them tell their story first. So, Marv and Janine, how in the heck did this get started?
Well, it's very simple. Janine likes to antique. We found out early on, and whenever she went antiquing, I would just probably hang out and sit in the car and let her do her thing and never complain. Well, that went on for a while, but not too long. Actually, what happened is 43 years ago,
I said, why don't you look for automotive stuff? You're sitting in the car, just go look for automotive stuff.
So
she got you out of the car. No, there's the truth of the story.
here we are. Here we
If I
are.
left you in the car, it would have been cheaper.
I didn't know he'd be so good at it. That's what happened.
And what happened was I started picking up a couple porcelain signs. Well, these things are, here one's 1924 and looks brand new yet. Boy, this is amazing stuff. Never paid any attention to it before. And then there was an auction in Scotland, South Dakota, Frank Pillar's auction, and he had Pontiac and Buick. And I bought my first two neon signs there. One of them was the Buick, the V8 one, which was just Fireball V8 is what it was called. And then the Pontiac one was called Strato Streak V8.
Not to make a bad reference, but you had your first drink.
Yep, and here it is.
Now you're a signaholic.
Yeah.
We have over 200 neons, and it's a very large collection of automotive stuff.
So you tell this story, and when I was here once before, just once, and I asked you right when you came in the door, this is your idea, and you didn't deny it. So now we know that it's 100% true.
It's true.
It's your fault.
Yep.
Yep.
It is.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is. You got something to claim. Not very often when these collections come together does that happen.
And what's really neat is she's been supportive through all these other years beyond. So.
Well, you've taken some amazing road trips, I'm sure, to go pick up these signs. And what we want to do here now is have you take us on a road trip through the collection, tell some of the stories along the way, and just kind of bring people to life, and also for your family down the road to be able to just remember some of the neater points of what we're standing in the middle of, because this is pretty amazing.
Well, we'll talk about cars and signs both, because we have a combination that will fit into your show.
All right.
too.
Well, hey, you know what? And one last thing about you two, because no story is complete without the beginning. How did you meet? We know the story of how this all came together, but how did you come together?
High school sweethearts, Marion, South Dakota.
MHS.
Marion High School.
Yep.
All right. See, what was the mascot down there?
Bears.
The Bears.
The Marion Bears.
So a couple of bears got together and hibernated.
Yeah. They've been hibernating for 58 years.
And how many kids? What's the rest of the family?
We have 2 children.
2 children.
Yep.
All right. Well, I bet you they're awfully proud of mom and dad.
Oh yes. Yep.
And you're probably real proud of them too.
We really are. Yep. Yep.
Right. Well, start showing us around.
Okay. We'll start over here, and because we have kind of a celebrity type car, and this is a 1966 Pontiac Catalina convertible, and that was sold brand new here in Worthington. And we have an annual celebration here in Worthington called Turkey Day. It's been going on for years and years and years. And in 1966, when this car was brand new, Robert Kennedy rode in this car.
Oh, wow.
And to our knowledge, it's the only car that Robert Kennedy signed. And his autograph is on the back of the headrest of this car.
We got to take a look at that. It's not real unless you see it.
Right there it is. There's been clear fingernail polish put over it to preserve it. And on the other headrest, we have Vice President Hubert Humphrey's signature and the number of years he rode in this car in Worthington, Minnesota.
Well, that is really, really neat.
Nixon was here. I mean, it's just amazing.
So how does this car remain here in 2022? And has it been restored? Or
it's all original.
It is all original.
We got it right from the lady that had it. And she wound up passing away, and her husband came to me shortly thereafter and said, I know she'd like to see the car stay in town. Here it is.
Well, this is a one of one because of its story, but this is also a pretty rare car in its own right.
Absolutely. It really is. And look at the condition of it.
It is. It's just amazing. And I know, like I said, been in here once before. When you see these red cars in this lighting, you don't know whether it's red or orange, but you know it's beautiful. That is for sure.
Yep. And right above it, fitting as it can be, is one of the earliest Pontiac dealership neon signs. It's 1928. Isn't that beautiful?
Now, just to kind of go back with what you said at the beginning with the porcelain, on these signs, many of these are somewhat original, but most of them, the porcelain is original.
Yes.
And you've rebuilt the mechanism sometimes?
Yes, and new neon on most of them. Because one thing about neon, it gets age on it, a lot of age, which these have got. It's hard to match the color with the glass and everything. So you generally wind up replacing all if you get one or two broken pieces. But we do not do the neon glass here.
Okay.
I learned early on the first step in making new neon glass is a pattern. So I have a pattern of every single neon piece you see here today in the second level of this building.
Okay.
That's all my glass blowers get to see. And they are fabulous.
And so then they make the tubes,
yep,
the patterns that you've created
right from
the originals.
Right. And then by that time, my signs never leave my site.
Well, with as
they stay
valuable and rare as they are, you want to keep them in here.
They stay right here so I can work on them while they're doing the glass. Here we have a 1965 Cadillac, sold brand new in Worthington. I traded it in 1975, just kept it for a parade car. Ethyl sign on the wall there, that is the only horizontal Ethyl sign I've ever seen, and I haven't talked to anybody else that's ever seen one that's horizontal.
Were they all green?
Ethyl?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We have another one right up here. That's a skeleton Ethyl, green. We have another one up in the showroom, green. That one there came out of Yankton, South Dakota.
Oh, so a lot of these are pretty close to home.
Oh, it's amazing what we found close to home.
Where did you start your automotive career?
Marion, South Dakota, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. The Studebaker sign came out of Chamberlain, South Dakota, as well as with a couple others that we'll talk about.
I love that blue. That is so pretty.
Isn't that neat?
That's awesome.
The Barber Motors, we had a Barber motor in Worthington. However, that sign came out in Covington, Georgia. Very unusual. It's tin, die cut, all original paint and everything on it, and it's out of the 30s. Incredible.
It's just incredible. It's just
the White Rose sign, that's a refinery company started in 1884, and that particular sign just came out of the original shipping crate in 1937.
So that is all 100% original?
Except for the glass.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's why it's original and was in the crate, because I'm sure it was so poorly crated that glass was probably broke before it left the sign company.
Yeah, I'm sure every time they put one on a freight truck, they're like, okay, this isn't going to make it. Oh, that's awesome.
This car and the 58, the 62 and the 58 came out of Albuquerque.
So they're all original paint, original cars?
Yeah, yeah. We have very few cars that we've restored, and we'll point those out as we go.
Well, they get that stuff down from the Southwest, and it's usually pretty good shape.
Yep. Here, this bay is dedicated farm implement signs. We have a lot of people that don't realize in the early days, you bought your new cars and new tractors the same place. In fact, Rapp Chevrolet, where I started out at in 1963, they had Minneapolis Moline. I look back in their history. At one time, they had John Deere.
There's a few of the green power people that would bid hard on that.
I hope so, yeah. And the Case Eagle is one of my favorite signs.
You know, I never noticed that even last time I was in here.
That is a beautiful piece. I used to have that sitting on the floor so people could walk up and feel the texture of the porcelain on the feathers on that sign. It's just amazing. But then I got another sign below. It says Case Thrashing Machines out of Kingsley, Iowa, and it talks about automobiles. You know, Case built 28,000 cars.
I did not know that.
Yep. How many cars do you think John Deere built?
Oh, probably 0.
Waterloo, Iowa. 75,000 John Deere cars were built,
right.
And they were called the Velie, V-E-L-I-E.
See, we need to capture this history because even my generation, we lose some of that stuff. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Now, I've had the pleasure of drinking water out of a drinking bag. You're too young to, but your dad probably did.
Yeah. I asked him about this, and he said he's never had one of those.
Okay.
When I got back after my last stop here.
Yep, but here it is. It's a water drinking bag. You'd hang it out in front of the car just like this, and as you drove down the road, the water cooled. And when you stopped to take a drink, you had cold water.
Is there a liner of some sort in there, or is it
No.
just like your typical canvas?
Yep. And it sweats, and that's what creates the process of cooling the water.
As it evaporates off the front of it. That's awesome. And what is that hanging on? What's the Pontiac?
That's a 1958 Star Chief 4-door sedan.
Beautiful.
I'm the second owner on it.
So what's this space-looking thing off the side window here?
This is the swamp cooler. It's the first version of air conditioning. Put your water ice back here. You drive down the road. The air flows in and through it and into the car. And if you had a real strong imagination, you felt cooler.
You might have felt it go down a degree or two.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
This is the only car on this whole side here that I'm not the first or second owner on.
I just for a second got freaked out when I looked at that person sitting there. It looks a little too real on that one with the mannequins in here.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. This the farm implement part that you've got here, this is really a strong collectible segment.
Oh, it is.
And when you started this, that probably was just booming because this is really taken off.
Well, what I started with here, my goal was to just stick with automotive. No gas and oil and no other things. But as I was collecting, I saw some cool stuff along those lines also, and I got hooked on some of these implement signs, and it worked into our museum very well.
Well, especially where you sit here in Worthington, that's an area that is so ag heavy.
Right.
And the groups that come in, everybody can find something interesting.
Exactly right. Evers Motors, Wagner, South Dakota. That is the Ford tractor sign, which was on the building there.
Oh wow!
Came out of that dealership.
I would. That'd be fun to have hanging above the Ford tractor we have in the lobby out at Nordstroms.
That one, yeah.
That's
the old racetrack tractor.
The old race tractor. That would be fun.
Yeah.
This is that's impressive. And when I look off across here, every time I look, I see something I did not see the first time.
Well, it takes a few times.
Yes.
As far as this John Deere sign, that came out of Belton, Minnesota.
Okay.
The gentleman there would not sell it to me. It was hanging on the building. Birds have been living in it for years. And I checked in with him about every 6 months. One day I was going in there, I walked by his truck and I says, you need to trade, get a new truck. I says, you need to upgrade that. I says, I'd take that sign and trade. He never even, I couldn't get him to smile, even hardly talk to me prior to that. He lit up like a Christmas tree. He says, you would? I says, yep. About 6 months later, one of my salesmen called me. He says, hey, there's a guy in here who wants to trade a sign in on a truck. I says, you trade with him.
Yeah, we'll make that trade.
Yeah, we're going to do that today. And then the next day we went out and got it, and we got it looking pretty good.
That's impressive. And you're enough, I mean this with a compliment. You're enough of a gentleman. I bet you as you approach people, you still could rub people the wrong way because they're proud of their stuff. But
well, yeah.
As a rule, you probably had a good demeanor to be able to deal with people.
Well, once they found out that their item would get a good home and shared with people, it always meant something.
Which sign in here that you could just, as quick as we move on here, but was probably the one that played hardest to get? Well,
that was one of them right there.
Yeah.
That was one of them. And there's There's a few others as I look around.
So that one you had to ask out on about 5 dates to get one.
Oh, it was more than that.
Oh, was it?
This went on for years.
Oh, so
I got one up in front that went on for over 20 years. This one over here went on for about 20 years.
That's it. So you can handle rejection pretty well too.
Absolutely. You just keep moving on. Just keep moving on, and pretty soon somebody decides. Here we have one in the original shipping crate. Came out of southern Tennessee. Gentleman I got it from swept the floor around that in the dealership when he worked there when he was in high school.
That's just amazing.
And when I got it, I told Janine on the way home, if it still lights up when we get home, I'm not even going to take it out and wash it. So there it is.
So that one has had no glass, no nothing.
Nothing.
Just the way it was.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Here's a sign that came out, it was found in a grove of trees by Decorah, Iowa.
Are we talking about the Goodrich sign here?
Goodrich.
Yep.
It's one of my newer signs. It's dated 1953. See, most of these signs here are out of the 30s and 40s, and this one's 53. And
so this is one of the newest ones.
Yep, it's got a stainless steel can on it, so there was no rusting of the can. But in this one here, when I started cleaning it up, I could see there was no bolts ever tightened up on it. And when I got inside of it, I could see that it was balanced inside, so I knew it was designed for.
Absolutely amazing. So is that the only rotator in the building?
Right now, that's the only rotator in the building.
All right, so what else have we got
We
here?
have a Lumacraft boat sign. What's that doing here?
Yeah, that's
Isn't
right
that-
to the farm section. It's close.
But I guess, look at how the graphics are in that sign. It's just amazing. And
where were the factories where most of these were made? Did they come out of a common place, do you know, or was there a bunch of manufacturers that made
well, there had to be quite a few. But as far as the automotive signs, you had about 4 different really popular nameplates, like, and Walker was one of the biggest ones. But this sign right here was actually found in St. Paul on a wall, completely painted into another sign. They quit advertising Lumacraft boats, and this happens to a lot of porcelain signs, a lot more than you realize.
Painted right over
They
it?
painted right over and painted a new sign on it. Well, if you know what you're doing, you can remove that paint, and here's the old original sign back. Here's an interesting gas pump, one of the last things I finished. Worked on it for over 2 years. It's a showcase pump, 1930.
Beautiful.
1930 Wayne 50 showcase. That is the original gas globe. This was found on a farm place just 10 miles from here.
Didn't have
Amazing.
to travel far to find a jewel.
I never dreamt I'd even get to see one of these, let alone own one, and here one is.
Where would this have been when
Right.
it was new? I mean,
Right on the gas station island.
but I mean, was this something that was kept for specific areas or high-end stores?
It was a high-end pump, and I would think it took a pretty good store.
Because this seems like something you'd see in Beverly Hills in the
Exactly right.
No, not in this area.
Out of the Brewster area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really cool. So this
And-
is this all functional yet?
Well, let's take a look here. You know, back in the days, people didn't trust the stations. That's why they had the visible pumps over here.
Okay, so they could actually
You see the gas.
coming in. All right.
Now, here we have an electric pump. Well, we can't use that same system, so they put the sight glasses on them. There's the sight glass. It's got a spinner in it. So, I'll try not to get any on you.
Oh, okay, all right.
We'll fire it up here. When that spinner starts turning, when I open up this nozzle, you know you're getting gas, right? Okay, it's open. She's spinning.
Oh, that's.
Close the nozzle.
Have you ever ran any liquid through it?
No,
I wouldn't either,
But that-
probably, but
that is actually the gasoline comes up this side. The electrical comes up this side. It's such a high-end pump, they concealed everything.
yeah, I mean, the engineering for that era.
Is
What
on
year would this have been, probably?
1930.
That's impressive.
Oh, yes.
And I wish the price only had that many digits today.
Well, we've got some lower price stuff over here. We got some 16 cents. So.
We could go back to that anytime soon.
Yeah, we could.
We wouldn't have to worry about anything if it was 16 cents, that's for sure. Oh my goodness, I just saw this huge Mercury sign.
Yes.
It just jumped out at me.
You think?
Wow, is that 20 feet? 15 feet?
It's 25.5 feet long, 7.5 feet tall, come out of Sigourney, Iowa. It's the only one. It's 1953. It's the only one. They only made 3 of them to start with. Mounted on 4 highline poles when I got it, but we took care of that.
Yeah, you didn't need the poles in
Nope,
here.
nope. We actually put square tubing legs underneath it. They swing underneath.
That fits a little better.
This is a piece that I want to show you.
Well, I was wondering, I thought we were going back in the corner here, but what do we got here, Marv?
This is a one of a kind. Came out of Pierre, South Dakota. Came from Beck Motors in Pierre.
Looks like a bulk fill.
No, I'm talking about this machine.
Okay,
right.
all right. I'm just looking at this here.
I got a lot of different things
Okay,
here.
all right.
This came out of my dad's bulk truck, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But this one here was actually used to calibrate speedometers in all the South Dakota highway patrols back in the days when they calibrated speedometers. And here's the magnet that was used to magnetize the speedometer head. My cousin was the parts manager out there for 30-some years. He snagged this as it was going out the back door. And so he got it for me. And he warned me, he says, if you ever want to fire up that magnet, make sure there's no tool boards within 20 feet because it'll wipe them clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's that strong.
Well, one thing about most of your signs, they don't have any solid-state devices inside of them.
Nope. For your show, here's a piece. Can you tell me what this is?
Well, is it for liquid or air? Fuel?
It's your first tire pump.
Yeah, well, I was looking at that, and that would have been too easy of a
put
guess.
Put this on your valve stem. You turn out your spark plug, put your adapter in there, fire up the engine, and it blows up your tire. I have the
first emergency kit, and that works way better than those goofy ones you buy for $19 at Target.
I have the original bag with instructions and more adapters in it. This came out of my uncle's garage in Marion, South Dakota. There you have it.
Once again, you didn't have to go far.
No.
That's cool.
Here is a cast iron eagle. This is a white eagle gas eagle. He weighs over 300 pounds, solid cast iron.
Good thing he's on wheels.
We had a station downtown Worthington. One of these sat on each side of the drive. We got one of them and the other one's going in our auditorium.
That's cool. That's really neat. These gas pumps, I mean, you look back at the display case one, and these are such collectible items.
Yeah.
And there's some here are unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Well, this one here is kind of special to me. This came out of my dad's location, Marion, South Dakota.
Marion, South Dakota, is that where everything started?
Some of it did.
Yep.
Yep. This particular pump right here, farmer had in his chicken coop. It didn't look like this. And when I got it, it was so bad in shape, but guess what? The cylinder was not broke or chipped or nothing. But when I started looking at it, I could see where there was two-tone paint here. And I couldn't understand why it looked like it was candy striping, but there wasn't any paint actually left, but you could see where there was lines of, at one time or another, it was two-tone with a stripe. And so I've never seen anything like it, so I pushed it off to the side. And then one day I happened to get a picture of a station here, and look at the pumps on that picture. Here they are. They're candy striped. So I took my magnifying glass out and looked on top, and it's WNX.
WNX radio.
WNX radio.
Yep, the big stick out of Yankton, South Dakota.
There it is. So, wow, I got to restore this pump. So, I ordered new skins. You can get these. We call them skins. And I ordered new ones. Got everything primed up. But every picture we found was just like that one. It's black and white. We couldn't find the colors what this pump is supposed to be.
So how did you figure that out then?
Well, I told Janine one morning we're going to Yankton today by way of Menno because I knew there was a station in Menno. So we headed out and didn't learn anything in Menno, but it was getting close to lunchtime, and we like to grab something to eat and mop off.
Another one of these road trips.
Yep. And so we go in this old restaurant, and the waitress came to me and she said, I said, we're trying to find out some information here about WNEX station here. And I says, nobody seems to know anything. But anyway, she said, I don't know of anything, but we have a sign over there in the wall. And I gave her my card. And then in our conversation, and she looked at, well, she knew my cousin.
Oh, family connection.
So all of a sudden, here we go. And she says, my mother collected Gurney magazines. And she says, I think I might still have some of those. If I get a break here, I'll go home and check.
It's like the Gurney Seed Company. Or Gurney, I think it was.
And that didn't make sense to me at the time. So pretty soon, she had to live out the back door. She was back in a flash, puts these magazines on our table. We're going through them. Pretty soon, Janine says, here, look at this. And here was a picture of one of these pumps.
In full color?
No, black and white. Buy your gas at your fair value station in the aluminum emerald green striped pumps.
Oh, so it said it.
It said it.
You didn't have to see it. You had it in writing.
And so we had the colors. And she's flipping through the magazine, and here they have spark plugs, WNX spark plugs, WNX 100% pure Pennsylvania oil, antifreeze, tires.
Oh yeah, I never saw this.
Anything you want in WNEX, tools even. And the reason for this is then the Gurney connection coming. Oh, in the back of this magazine also was a listing of 350 the locations and proprietors and what towns they were. All in the back. I had it all. I bought the magazine from her. I had to have it. Yeah. Well, anyway, so then we got to researching things. And what happened was Gurney Seeds was very successful. Yep. And you know why they were successful? WNEX. WNEX started in the late teens and put Gurney on the map because WNEX is one of the strongest stations. They go everywhere. We're now on WNEX with the Under the Hood show. Oh, great. So it goes everywhere. Everywhere. Yep. Well, what happened was in about 1924, 1925, WNEX got in financial woes. You'd never imagine that. And Gurney decided he couldn't lose his largest advertising source, so he bought them out. I'm sure if we dug into that history, that's awesome. Well, then what happened was he felt that the gas and oil companies should be given some concessions to the people out here because times were tough. So he wrote letters to them and threatening them if they didn't make some concessions for people out here and lower their prices, he was going to start his own stations. They laughed at him. He'll never do it. He did. Like I said, 350. I think they wound up with a total of about 600 when it was all said and done. And that's the shortened version. And I have a sister that is in the horticulture industry, and so she knows all about the Gurney side. Isn't that something? Yeah. I mean, the connection is just amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. Here is a Wayne 800. We think there's only about 15 to 20 of these left. All cast iron here. It's staying just like you see it. I like the can't knock. They had a little problem with dieseling back in the day. Even they went way back. Yep. That's why they needed high octane fuel and all that stuff to make it all work. This one here came out of Oklahoma. Well, there is. What is that? I was caught by the Studebaker and Chevrolet signs, but then you stopped. And as we stopped, what are we looking at here? I'm going to have to prime it. Uh-oh. I don't know what he's up to here. But this was advertised in Wisconsin auction as a Chevrolet special tool. Well, I don't know what purpose it would have for a vehicle, but it's sure fun. What this was used for in Detroit, when the new models come out, they called the dealers in to give them the preview viewing of the new model before they brought them out to the public.
Yep.
They'd have these things running on the platform as the cars rolled off.
Nowadays, it's big digital displays, and they bring you to a theater, and they do the introductions and everything else.
I can't let it run too long because the floor gets slippery.
We'll start going down. Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Here, if you want to step over here and touch some neon, you're welcome to do so. It's not hot, but the transformers are. And this one's got 5 15,000-volt transformers on it. And that one over there, the big used car one flashing's got 9 transformers in it.
It's always amazing to me when you look and this stuff is just tied on with this little wire.
Yep, it's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I had an interesting comment from a lady in here this summer. She was looking around and asked me a lot of questions. She says, well, how many pieces of neon do you have here? I'd never been asked that before. I started looking around. Man, there are thousands of them.
Exactly.
Just a nice driver, 62 Corvette.
Yeah, just a nice driver, not a big deal.
Nope.
Just a 62 Corvette.
Here's Rapp Chevrolet, Marion, South Dakota. That's the building I started at in 1963.
So here's that history I've been asking for, the automotive history.
Here it is. 63, I started there, that building. We built a new building, moved into it in 1970. As you can see, this sign is on the building here yet. Well, I don't know when that sign get taken off that building because we had new signs on the new building. We came here in 72.
And that was with Spomer Motors, correct?
No, that was Schoen Motors.
Schoen Motors at the time. It became Spomer Motors.
Yep. So we came here in 72. I wasn't collecting signs, didn't pay any attention to this one until I got the green light. And then I started asking Glenn Rapp what happened to the old sign. He says, I don't know, Dad did something with it. You know, his dad started the dealership in 1932.
In the 30s.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was back there probably about 12, 14 years ago. And I'd like to stop and see Glenn. I just enjoy visiting with him. He said, I know what happened to the sign.
And your ears are like, tell me more.
He says, I was out the farm the other day and I happened to look down this fence line and I saw something shiny laying in the dirt and I remember what Dad did with the old sign. He took it all apart and
doesn't sound good.
Hung it on the barbed wire fence for snow fence.
So one of the big porcelain pieces.
2 of the big porcelain pieces, because each porcelain piece is over 16 feet long. That's 32 feet of snow fence, and you got 2 of them. Not too bad a deal. Not bad a deal. Yeah.
And you already had it. You didn't have to pay for it.
So Glenn says, dig it out of the dirt. Take it with you. I cleaned it up, made my patterns. Then I had to build a frame, build a can. But here it is, back to the original.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask this question again. So the long panels are what were buried in the dirt.
Yep.
And they have not been repainted?
This is porcelain.
I know, but
the
beauty of that, to know that
it's just
the story you just
isn't
told
that
me.
Wonderful stuff?
Yeah.
And what's neat about porcelain, it's porcelain on both sides. Color's not there, but the whole side, that metal, it started out with a heavy piece of metal, and then they porcelainize it from both sides. And so you clean it up, there it is.
That's just amazing to me. When you tell that story, me growing up on a farm, knowing that we had things buried in the dirt, and then you dig them up, it didn't look like that when we dug it out.
Yeah, we got a Sears and Roebuck sign there, was found 4 miles south of town in a grove of trees, and that was buried in the dirt. They called one day, they said, we found something in the trees, you better come out here. There it is.
They know who to call whenever a sign gets uncovered, don't they?
I hope.
Yeah, you'd want them to. Oh, that's awesome.
This is a restoration here. This car came out of California in pieces.
67 Firebird Convertible.
326 H.O, high output. Note the hood tachometer.
Yep.
And
I'm a sucker for Firebirds, so
this is a very rare car. They built this combination for less than 30 days.
30 30 days.
I've only talked to one other person that's got one of these in a convertible. And that was when we had the Smoky Bandit run come through. We had Trans Ams from 38 states.
I know, I missed that. I was out of town. Boy, look at that. Beautiful.
One of the earliest
cruise controls. That's awesome. Detail's amazing.
That used car one right there, okay.
Okay, used cars.
Notice the background, it's yellow, not orange like all the others, or yellow or blue or anything. But the bar ones like that you generally see are orange, and you'll see another one up in front. We got another one right here. That one came out of southern Illinois, and it's one of a kind.
And was there a specific reason for that coloration? Different?
We don't know.
Okay.
Nobody's got any history.
They probably ran out of a paint in the factory and said, grab this one.
It's porcelain.
Yeah. I said paint again. I got to quit doing that. I'm going to get in trouble if I say that again.
1966 GTO. One of one. It's the only one ever painted this color.
As I say, it's a very unique color.
Yep. 4-speed convertible with factory air.
And you could have bought this car new for $4,170.
Isn't that something? And
I would have liked to have bought about 5 of them.
The special order paint, I think, was $80.62.
Yep, special paint right there, $82.60. Option code SPX.
Yep, special.
Special. I always love these antennas.
But I'm the second owner on this.
That's all. Is that one that?
Catherine's dad. This car was bought brand new in Stan Olson, Pontiac, Omaha, Nebraska. Her dad was a doctor there. Catherine's dad bought her this for her when she was in high school.
Well, everybody needs a GTO convertible when they're in high school.
Especially a 4-speed.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the car that just the colors just are crazy in here with this car.
That's Venetian red.
It doesn't look Venetian
I
red.
know, but that's the red for 57.
It looks like my mom's orange ZR1.
I carried a patch of that to car shows for about a year and a half. Janine can attest to that. And laid it on all the 57 Corvettes to see if it was the right color, and it was. It would never fail, it just was.
So this car is something that you've told me was a pretty big project.
Oh yes, this is everything. Just like that one there. And
but it's such a beautiful vehicle, and it's got so many desirable options.
yes.
Fuel injection?
Fuel injection, first year for 4-speed. This transmission is dated, first 4-speed transmission rolled off the assembly line April 11th. And this one I think is dated April 13th or 14th.
Oh, so not far into the run at all, just
No,
a days.
the car was built April 28th. That's the build date on the car.
Such a beautiful car.
All my Corvettes have both tops, hard top and soft top.
We had commented about this being in here on another trip, but the distance between that steering wheel and that seat doesn't allow for much room for your improvement in your body.
Oh, no. Janine wants me to get this car done so she can go for a cruise around the lake. I'm stalling because I got to lose 20 pounds to drive it.
No, there's an easy solution.
What's that?
She drives.
No, I took care of that. It's a 4-speed.
Oh, I bet you she can do it. I bet you she can show you how it's done. Oh, that's awesome. Love that car. I love them all. That's awesome.
This Buick Pontiac is a one-of-a-kind. That came out of Spring Valley, Minnesota. I tried to buy that for over 20 years. It was in the basement of this dealership rotting away. There it is. One of a kind.
Do you have, and I hate to ask you this, like the kids, do you have a favorite in here?
I've got favorites, yes.
Is there one or two?
Signs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which ones?
Well, probably we haven't got to one of them yet.
All right, you show me when we get to it.
Okay, we'll do it. But this one here is very uniquely designed, and that's
used trucks.
Used trucks on this side. On the other side, it says used cars, and they're on a track. It's the only one that we know of ever made. Double like that.
Awesome.
Came out of Raton, New Mexico, along with two other of my first big signs I got.
Red Ram V8.
Yes.
What is that?
That's the Dodge Hemi motor when they come out with the Hemis. Up in front, we have the Fire Dome V8 and the, I don't know, I forgot what the other one was, but we have all three of the Hemi skeleton signs. And you know, I mentioned before, Fireball V8 and Strato Streak V8, there they are.
Yep. It's awesome. It's just so neat to see it when you start putting the pieces together and hearing all this stuff together.
69 Buick LeSabre 400, just turned 13,000 miles. We have the cancel check lady wrote and she bought it brand new.
That's awesome.
This one here, that's a Lincoln Mercury quality used car sign, came out of Kansas City. The Ford Jubilee sign there on the wall, very unusual.
It's like the Luxembourg emblems on it.
Here is 1955 Chevy 150, sold brand new, a wrap Chevrolet in Marion. I serviced this car for Martha when I was at my dad's station.
So
before I started
you did oil changes on Martha's car, and now you have it in your museum.
Yes.
And that looks to be all original.
It is.
And that car, you say a 150, that was your entry level?
Absolutely.
Heat and keys?
We want you to open up the door and give me a report from the interior.
There's not.
We have two options on this car: two-tone paint and an automatic transmission. How's the radio?
There is not a radio.
How's the carpeting?
It is vinyl.
How are the sun visors?
There's just one of them.
Just one. How are the armrests on the door?
There is only none.
Yeah. Okay.
One sun visor. That's not saying much for respect for your passenger.
No.
Oh boy, that's.
Sold for $21,02.
You can't even buy an ATV for that anymore. How solid that is.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
It hasn't even had the eyebrows replaced.
Yeah, most of them were rusted out.
Yep. There's a 79 Bonneville two-door. Very few of those sold. Bucket seats, console, fuller interior. Only 2 miles from here. I got it back. 46,000 miles.
The Landau top, and then the console, and then yet, well, I don't they have a lot of other options, but fender skirts.
Yep.
Those wire wheels were a pain in the butt to clean. Those
Yep.
covers. If you had a dishwasher, you put them in there, but nobody liked that.
Not too well.
Did that happen?
No, I don't know if we tried that, did we?
So much to see. Hey, we forgot about something that's a little special to me right in the middle here.
Well, yeah.
You know, I've got a hankering for Trans Ams, and I have one of these at home just like this, but it's not just like this at all.
You got a nice one.
I know what this is, but I think that this is just a neat car.
Well, this car here, they only built 13 like it without the hatch row.
Yep.
Or the T-top. And as you know, they were the fastest production car in '89.
And they derated it because they didn't want it to show more horsepower than the Corvette.
Absolutely.
Because the Corvette people were like, nope, can't do that.
And this being the 20th anniversary, and Indian Space car served two purposes, which was kind of unusual. And this car was actually lost in the garages at Indianapolis. It spent the winter there, 89 to 90.
You could lose it in my garage. I wouldn't complain.
And they found it in the spring of 1990.
I wonder how many laps around the track it took when nobody was looking.
It had 86 miles on it.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yep, you can do the math on that.
Yep. Anyway, here it is, the V6 with the big turbo.
Yeah, because they did not modify these cars at all to pace the Indy Pace car, other than the lights, right?
This has got 20 more horsepower than the Grand National motor.
Okay, because I remember them saying they didn't have to modify these cars for the pace in the race.
But this does have 20 more.
Yeah, because they use a bigger turbo. It's more like the GNX that they came later with in the Grand National.
Yeah.
They got they're a little wider on the heads, and it's a little bit different that way.
But even the spark plug wires are marked 20th anniversary.
So those people out there that have the Grand Nationals and the T-type Regals, most people know that motor ended up in a Trans Am. But boy, you tell people sometimes they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
A V6 and a Trans Am?
Yeah.
And it was one of the fastest?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this is a great car. How many miles on it now?
It was the fastest production car in '89.
We'll leave it at that.
I drove it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's got close to 4,000 miles on it.
Yep. Mine's got 9,000 miles on it.
But we drove it to the Nationals and different things like that. Big events.
Most of them got a lot of miles, a quarter mile at a time.
Right, right.
Or a stoplight dash at a time.
Right.
Well, Marv, I tell you what, we could be in this room all day.
Well, we got another room.
Another room?
Yeah.
Let's go to the other room. Let's check it out. We got our service desk here. It looks like you could start this thing up at the dealership again if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, we can write them up right here.
You got all the promotionals though. We took a quick look before, but the clock with the dirty oil coming in, cleaning oil going out by Fram. Just all these pieces in here.
There's over 200 pieces in this little area right here. Over 200 when you start looking around.
First time my eyeballs have seen Corvair on a sign.
Yes, it's still out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much
we got representation from Chamberlain, Chancellor, Gregory, Tyndall, all on this wall right here. Different dealer.
I see the KSO sign here. We'll have to take a shot of that when you come through. But that was our Under the Hood show started on the KSO airwaves in 1990 when I was 19 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So
well, that's a great piece.
Yeah, that's a neat piece for sure. I love the color of that. I've never seen one like that before.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite clocks.
And then right here when we walk by, just when you see this, all the lubrication points. What year is this from?
It's got to be out of the 20s. In fact, all these signs right here are out of the 20s. Again, all porcelain.
Yeah, you tell your service tech, don't miss any.
Lubrication points.
Yeah, don't miss the fan shaft bearing.
Yeah.
You got to get all them.
Make sure you get that KSO holder.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat sign. Well, the other thing that we haven't talked about a lot as we're walking through here is just all these clocks that you have.
I got hooked on the neon clocks and the advertising clocks. And they're just neat, and they all kind of tell their story because it's usually a wonderful piece of advertising in there. Some of them we call spinners, and they show off much better than others. And it's just, everyone's different. Some of them, the neon's on the inside, some of it's on the outside, and wonderful combination.
You can get on the internet and buy a knockoff of so many things if you want just something to hang. But when you see the real thing,
yeah,
it's something special.
You know it's the real thing.
Something special for sure.
This corner is dedicated to Pontiac. We have a lot of people come through here don't realize that Pontiac was named after Chief Pontiac. And there's a portrait of Chief Pontiac. And
I can't say I've ever seen a portrait of Chief Pontiac.
But you have now.
It's part of, I'll never forget it.
Most of these pieces in this corner came out of Peterson Pontiac, Cherokee, Iowa.
And this is an honor when you think about it this way. In today's day and age where people go through and they talk about we can't say this, we can't say that, this was an honor.
Absolutely.
It was a prestigious thing, and that's just the way it should be. That's awesome.
Pontiac was honoring the chief.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. We got Coke stuff. I love the Coke stuff items, and
I would bet there's a lot of people that come in here that somebody in their family is like enamored just by the Coke stuff.
Yep. We have a Coke ice chest here dated 1930. It's got the Coca Cola brass plate on it. Very, very unusual to find one of these in this condition. The Window 44 here, that's one of the most popular Coke.
Yeah, I remember an old one of them at a station we used to stop at and trying to make it work.
Yeah, right.
They didn't always work, but they were around for a long time.
I love these Nesbits, and we got about half a dozen of them around here. They put these mileage, Nesbits Pop, put these mileage charts out all over.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, they were.
But I guess I never realized that there were Nesbits. I always just saw this.
Yeah, but it was a Nesbits advertisement. And here you have your mileage chart from Worthington. We've got others scattered around here.
Oh my goodness, we did just find another room.
Yep, this is another room.
And this is so shiny that I see why you told us we had to have dry shoes.
Oh, yes.
Otherwise we go skating.
Yeah, that's...
oh my.
We hated to have this shut off during the open house, but we didn't have any choice.
Yeah, because it is just... This is just really, really fascinating. Just with the glass windows on the front and all the signs hanging above the cars, it's the showroom.
Right. Now, we haven't talked about the history of neon.
Well, you need to tell me about the history
of neon. History was introduced in Europe in 1926 at the National Auto Show, Madison Square Garden, New York, New York. And the first neon sign happened to be a Packard sign. And we're standing by 2 Packard signs right here. The one on the right there has got the original shipping crate, Holstein Motor Company, Chamberlain, South Dakota. That's where that sign came out of. The Packard Clipper one was found in a barn by Ellsworth, Minnesota. Been up there for 20-some years.
Is that original tubing on that? Is
Yes.
that why it's like that?
Yes. Yep.
So that original first sign, Packard sign, where's that at nowadays?
I don't know, but I've seen pictures of it.
It does exist somewhere, they think?
I don't know if it does.
Okay, all right.
Chevrolet sign, that's the only one I know made by the Brainerd Sign Company, Brainerd, Minnesota. The GMC one came out of McAllen, Texas. The Buick valve and head there, that is the favorite. That's,
we mentioned
that's 1917, and it's the only one with original opal melt glass in it in the world.
All right, we're talking about the Buick
right
valve
there.
and head. That's one of the favorites.
It's lit with light bulbs because it was before neon.
That's one of the favorites.
1917. That is a beautiful piece.
All right, if you said it, I was so enamored by looking at something else. I didn't hear. Where did you find this?
Well, there was a dealership in Marshall, Minnesota that had an elevator in it. You know, they took cars up to second level. And when they went up there, they found this sign and a couple others.
In the upper level?
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you have to ask before you had a chance at this one, or was it an auction situation?
It's quite an interesting story. We're not going to get into it.
We don't have time?
No.
Well, that's awesome.
It's absolute. It was meant to be. The Olds sign right there, that came out of Bob Lee Chevrolet Olds, Cannon Falls, Minnesota. And I took that off the building. And that was, we think that's got some of the original neon on it. The Cadillac one way down at the end here, that's one of my first signs.
That is beautiful. That is neat.
Isn't it though?
You think of the prestige of the Cadillac brand in that era.
Standard of the world.
Yep.
There it is. The Ford one came out of Denton, Texas. This Chrysler Plymouth one here came out of Randall, Kansas, on the Kansas-Nebraska border.
Is it purposely flashing, or is
it's
a little maintenance?
You know something? It's done that since I finished the sign, and I've left it alone because it attracts attention. And you might come in here someday and it all burns together. But I like it better when it's flashing.
Yeah, because when I came in here, you'd left for a little bit, and I just walked through. That caught my eye because I thought, oh, is there something wrong here? Do I got to tell Marv about this?
Nope.
Are we going to be okay?
We're okay.
Because that's the only one in here out of all these beautiful displays that shows any signs of malfunction.
It's not a malfunction though on that one.
It's a purposely designed component.
Yeah. Wow. Now people always ask how long neon lasts and so forth. We don't know. But those on the outside of the window, the glass, they stay on 24/7. And they've been on for over 20 years here.
And never really shut off?
No, only if the power goes off. And we don't know how many years they hung in the dealership prior to us getting them.
That's impressive. So
it is. Now, we talked about the red...
You told me a story. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The red Ram in the back. Chrysler's was Firepower, and DeSoto was Fire Dome. Here we have a...
You're out of words to say. I'm just enjoying you telling it and pointing things out.
Oldsmobile Viking. You ever heard of a Viking car? Right here. Viking was the name of a very luxurious car that was sold with Oldsmobile. We have one of their ads here. V8 car, very luxurious, sold for $15.95, 1929, 1930.
$15.95.
Too expensive for the times.
Too expensive.
That was during the crunch. Yep. And they only lasted 2 years. Here we have a sand painted sign, or schmaltz. It's a process they started in the 1800s. Feel that?
It almost looks like it's got reflective stuff in it. Like
well, guess what? It's sand.
Okay.
Look at this sign is 1917, and look how it reflects the light. Those people back then knew how to make things. Just look at that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like when you walk up to Mount Rushmore, the mica that they've got on the sides and just lays there. Wow.
Here's a masonite sign. Why is it made out of masonite? During the war, they were short on metal. This is the only one we know made by the Northwest Sign Company, Minneapolis, St. Paul, that still exists. It's one of one. Came right out of Heron Lake, and the Heron Lake sign we found in Idaho.
It makes sense. Go to Idaho and find a Heron Lake sign.
As you can see, we filled the offices. Spark plug cleaning, 5 cents. You're too young to remember that, but I do.
You had to do a little bit of spark.
We had it. Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's every corner you look, you've got something so unique that there are people that I've sat and watched, like at some of my sister's auctions with Vanderbrink auctions, where people will be bidding and waiting for that little piece, the whole auction.
Yeah.
And you've probably been one of them people before, waiting for one little piece you know you wanted.
Yep. Yep. You know who that is?
No, I'm not going to guess either.
That's Fernando DeSoto.
Okay.
It's the only one I've ever seen like that. I know a gentleman that's got a DeSoto collection. He's got one, but he says it's not quite that nice. It's lit with green and white neon. There again, it was one of my former customers, Sibley, Iowa, that had that on his basement wall. Here's one of my first flat porcelain signs.
Ethyl Gas.
You'd say, read the rest of it.
General Motors product.
Did you know that?
No.
You did not know GM was in the gas business?
Nope.
1924, GM wanted a higher octane fuel. They went to the gas and oil companies. They says, we're not interested. And GM says, okay, we'll do our own. They did. Within months, the gas and oil companies come back to them because they were so successful and said, we'd like to buy the rights for it. So GM sold them the rights. They kept using that logo into the 60s. You had your choice.
I always heard ethyl. I mean, I remember that was always a term. That's great.
You could fill it up with regular or ethyl. Yep. And that's when they started putting lead in the gas to bring up the octane, which brought up the performance and the economy both.
Which now today, if they would actually give us a fuel supply with a higher octane, they could go so much further with the ICE engine.
Isn't that something?
You know, if they would just be standard across the country. That is, that's impressive. So ethyl gas was General Motors. I wonder if a long time from now they'll do the same thing with like Dexos, which the oil branding that GM did.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see how that goes. This is impressive. So as we walk into this room, we've been talking about these amazing signs. We saw one of your favorites with the Velvet Head Buick.
Just look at that sign from here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
amazing. So what's the cars that they're lighting below it? What do we got here?
Well, we have a Fiero GT that I sold new, got back 40,000 miles. We have our son's car here, 72 Firebird. We did a father and son restoration on it when he was 15. He is now 58. That's the way he keeps his stuff. Nothing's ever been done to it since, except for the tires and wheels, and they were just put on 4 years ago.
That's a beautiful car.
Yep.
What's this, is that a 400?
Yeah, well, we tweaked it a little bit.
Not quite stock 400.
Yeah. Whenever his high school buddies come in and see that car, is that Dave's old car? I said, yep. That thing was fast.
they remember that.
I tell you what happened on it when we started restoring this. I said, we're going to have problems here, and I don't want any problems. You're going to be out racing all the time. I don't want that to happen. We're going to make this thing fast enough so that you're going to blow their doors off and they're going to leave you alone. It worked. Because those tires we just took off there 4 years ago were put on when we restored it. Now, either that or you just didn't have any fun. I don't know.
Maybe he had another set.
I don't know. 55 Chevy came out of a friend of mine's estate. He took an early out at 61. He had 58 vehicles in his collection at the time. This was paintwork and And interior work was done about 44 years ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah. Yep.
Boy, that is impressive. With the, you look at the tons of money people spend on the materials that they buy nowadays.
Yep.
That looks.
Yeah, it needs some freshening up.
But just here in the lighting, it just looks wonderful.
76 Grand Prix. I sold it new, got it back, 40,000 miles. It was just 8 blocks from here.
So is this a sport model, or what was this one called?
This is an LJ.
LJ.
Notice
there again, those big body cars are starting to make a comeback where people want them. Very desirable. Very desirable.
And here we have a beautiful 63 Pontiac Catalina, 2-door hardtop. Has been repainted, and that is all original interior, and everything in this car came out of Yankton. Take a look in there.
So that's never been restored. Never.
Nope.
They've all got that familiar odor. Just that.
Yep, that's that vinyl.
Is that what did that?
Yeah, the vinyl.
You always smell that when it's just the same.
Yep.
My dad had a 64 SS, and that was one
Smells
of the cars we
it.
sold
Yep.
to build our dealership, and that smell is just something you always remember. It's just amazing because usually the hinges are hanging and they're hitting the latch. Not that one. That is amazing.
And how the lines changed every year in those cars.
Yeah. Now they design it all on a computer, but back in those days they started with a block of clay, and
Isn't it something?
how that's changed. Where they can design now in 6 months on a computer. That was a huge process before that. I think that those engineers and those modelers back in the day, they did some amazing stuff.
Well, they really did. I mean, it was, when you look at this and you look at some of the stuff, just small stuff and everything I got hanging around here, how'd they do this?
Craftsmanship beyond
Just,
before.
yeah, yep.
Well, Marv, this is amazing as we walk through here. This front room is just really the icing on the cake for what you have here. And we could spend days here, literally.
Oh, yeah.
But we probably can't do that for that long. But,
no, I run out of gas.
So what is next, Marv? What's next as you realize that you've been doing this a long time, you can't do it forever? What's going to happen?
We're going to do a major downsize.
Okay.
And I probably will downsize in building as soon as I can find the right building. But we'll probably continue on with doing a few things. My wife says I can't sit around and do nothing.
Well, I have a feeling you have to have a project going on.
I'm no different than your dad.
Yeah. You got to have something going on.
Yeah. We constantly got to be doing something. And I've got plenty of job security hanging out in the back room right now and upstairs. So
okay,
we're good. We're good.
We're good on that.
We're good.
Well, for some reason, I don't think you're looking for job security, but that purpose to get up and but you've got some really cool stuff to get up for, and you should be. You don't need me telling you this. So proud of the meticulous nature of all of this, and just the pride that is every piece. And as I walk around, what I feel is your passion.
It is a passion. Yep.
And, you can just feel that, and I hope the people that take the time to watch this video will feel that also.
I hope so too.
Because it's something that I think a lot of younger people, including myself, as things go along, you lose some of that passion. If I go through and give a tour of my facility, people say, "Geez, you're so passionate about what you do." But when you build something and you've done it like this, you just really feel that.
Yep. And the thing we're going to miss the most is all the wonderful people, the thousands of wonderful people that have come through here, and from all over the world. We've
visitors from near and far.
Oh yeah. We've had people in countries I'd never heard of. In fact, 2 weeks ago we had 2 people from South Africa, and we had a wonderful time in here. They were videoing and talking to their families back home and showing them this got displayed. I mean, with our technology we have today, it's
they could just FaceTime back home.
Oh, they did. I couldn't understand what they were saying until they switched over to English for me.
It had to be good, though.
No, it had to be good. They had big smiles on their faces.
Well, Marv, we thank you for your time.
Yes.
telling your stories.
Thank you.
There's a lot more that could be told here, but I think that we've encapsulated quite a bit of it. I thank you. I respect you so much, and thank you for letting us have a small part of your life and time here.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking time.
Well, to all the Under the Hood Show viewers that have been taking this in, we appreciate you taking a little time. Make sure and check out our podcast, Under the Hood. You can find it on all the major podcast sites. Here on YouTube, we do Facebook Live. We're on terrestrial radio on over 250 radio stations across the country. Check us out, and we'll have some fun together. We'll learn about cars, and every once in a while, we'll check up with somebody special like Marv. So have a great day, and remember, PTLA.